Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica and I am making this video as an intro video so you can kind of understand who I am on a deeper level and what I do and how I got to where I am. So I'm going to take you on a journey. We're going to go to the very beginning. I incarnated into a family of addicts. I am one of two people in my family who is not an addict. So addiction runs very deeply in my lineage. And because of that, there has been so much trauma in my lineage. And I have really been the one to break it. And it has not been an easy road. It's been a very hard road. I am an extremely sensitive being, highly empathic, and incarnating into a family of addicts really was a very traumatic upbringing. I really had to learn at a young age how to become something that I'm not in order to survive. My light slowly but surely got stripped away as a child. It was so overwhelming and overbearing to be such a highly sensitive being and surrounded by so much abuse and darkness. I would say the beginning half of my life was a living hell. That is simply put. It was a very, very hard place to grow up. And there was abuse of all forms. And my parents were very deep into their addiction um, and weren't really available to offer healthy support and love and connection and care. And so I really felt alone a lot of times. And my sister, she was very close with my dad. They were best buds. My mom was gone all the time working or doing whatever it is that she did. And I very much felt like the black sheep of the family. I got made fun of a lot. I got picked apart. It's like everything that I did was never enough. And it just wasn't what my dad wanted me to be. And I think that looking back on it, my sensitivity really triggered him and he didn't know how to handle it. And so he handled it very poorly, to say the least. He not only abused me himself, but then he manipulated my sister in a way where it was my sister and him just constantly ganging up on me, and it was very painful. And I not only felt like the black sheep of the family, but when I was at school, I just felt very different. I felt like my friends were not super close to me, and when they were, I just feel like they weren't very kind either. And I had one good friend growing up, and we met when we were two, and we were each other's everything. Her family were also addicts, and so we were each other's kind of escape, where we were really able to immerse ourselves in each other's play and really be kids. She was the best part of my childhood. And I went away on a holiday to my grandma's, and then I came back and I was so excited to call my best friend because I wanted to play with her. And my mom comes out in tears and she tells me that she's gone, that she died. And I was so taken back. I was in complete shock and disbelief. And from that moment on, I was 9 years old. And from that moment on, I shut down. I didn't, I feel like I flipped inside out. It's like I just became so numb and disassociated. I was already disassociated and numb because that was my way of coping. But after she died, I didn't know how to handle my grief. I was 9 years old. I didn't have a whole lot of support. My parents did the best that they could with what they had. But I mean, at 9 years old, I feel like you don't really understand what death is. Like, you don't really have that great of a concept on it. And so here I am moving through this deep grief, no idea how to navigate it. And honestly, I feel like I probably still have suppressed grief from that time. It was so bad where I look back on that time and I don't remember a lot because I just literally shut down. And I really moved through the rest of my childhood in that disassociated, numb place where nothing really phased me. I had to shut off my sensitivity. I learned at a very young age that I couldn't cry, I couldn't show my emotions. couldn't be who I was. If I was myself, I would get picked apart and abused. And so I really just became this shell of a person at a very young age and learned coping mechanisms and learned these protector mechanisms that I am still healing from to this day. And so I would say the next traumatic event for me was when um, I was 13 years old, and my sister came to me and she told me that our parents are drug addicts. And at that time, I felt like something was off. And but even still, coming into that information, it was just kind of a hit to the gut. I was like, wow, really? That's what it is. That's what all of this has been. That hasn't really made a lot of sense is drugs and it's meth. Like, wow. And so that was really when I feel like my parents were no longer my parents. They were people who made bad choices, and as I continue to grow older, I look back and could see how they were in so much pain. I talking about this my story, I want to make it very clear that there is no victimhood here. I am actually very grateful for my childhood because it has made me who I am today. I have had to navigate such dark times, like truly abusive, painful times. And I have made it out so much stronger and wiser. And I'm so grateful for that. And so when she told me that they do drugs, she was basically like, I can't be in this environment anymore. My sister was she protected me a lot. She was a senior in high school at this time. I was 13. And she knew a lot of what was going on at a young age. And she never confided in me. She never told me any of it. She really just kept it to herself. And I think that was a very beautiful thing that she did to try to protect me and keep me in my innocence. And she was really the most normal part of my childhood. She was the closest thing I had to feeling safe. And so then she told me that she was going to go live with her aunt who lived 2 hours away. And I was like, there's just no way I'm going to stay here by myself, knowing what I know now. And everything is making sense. How they would all these people coming in and out of our house all the time. Angry people would show up at our house. I would have to hide. And there was so many things. The constant, oh, I'm going to run to the store, and they come back and there's no groceries. There was so many things that just added up. How my dad was always in and out of jail, how he was always wanted for something, and that something is, drugs. They knew he was a drug addict. He sold drugs, and so here I am, 13. My world just got flipped upside down, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going to stay here by myself. I'm going to go with you. And so I had confronted my father about his drug use, and I will say something that I'm very grateful for about my dad is how he never sheltered me. He was always honest about big life lessons. He he taught me a lot. And so he was forthcoming and said, if you want to know what it's like to be on drugs, look at me. And told me, that he told me his story and all of it. And so at this point in time, we're all in the know about his drug use. And, he's like, I will take you to your aunt's house and I'm going to turn myself into jail. And then when I come out, I'm going to come back for you and all is going to be well. And it sounded great, but that never happened. And so I went to a new school at halfway through the year. I went from this tiny school to this massive school where there was drug needles and condoms, and it just was extremely ghetto and totally and completely out of my comfort zone. And living with my aunt had its own toxicity, abuse. It just felt very uncomfortable being there. And it's like my life got flipped upside down within a blink of an eye. And I'm now processing this information, how my parents are choosing drugs over me. And that hurt. It hurt so bad. I was crying myself to sleep every single night by myself. I confided in my sister and my aunt every now and then. You know, they did the best they could to support me, but my sister was also going through her stuff, and my aunt was going through her stuff. And so it was just, I really had to grow up very, very fast. And it was like a reality check. It's like no more innocence was left. It's like I was 13 years old and I just got hit with the real world and was really navigating it by myself, navigating this deep grief and pain and no idea how to navigate it. And so then my mom ended up moving in with my grandma who lived 20 minutes away from my aunt. And my mom was really trying to get her life back together. She went back to school. She didn't get clean. She still used drugs. And my grandma and my mom said that it would be best for me to move in with them. And it felt better living with my grandma. I felt like I was always pretty close to my grandma. Her and I always had a pretty deep connection. And she saved my life. My grandma was a godsend. She was a woman who battled her own demons. And so she definitely had her moments. But she taught me a lot and she got me through that really hard time. And then came about I think I want to say I was about 14 or 15 years old. My grandma ended up kicking my mom out for doing drugs in her house and stealing her identity. Um, and so my mom went and stayed in a shelter. And that is when things got really weird between my grandma and I. My mom and my aunts, they would always tell me horror stories about how abusive my grandma is and how mean she is. And I just never saw it until my grandma kicked my mom out. And it was just her and I. And then she became, I definitely saw what they were talking about. She became very controlling and manipulative. If, if I didn't jump when she said jump, all hell broke loose. And it was just, it wasn't a good time. And so then she became very overbearing and very over controlling. It was like a completely different side to my grandma that I'd never seen before. And she had these rules where I needed to come home right after school and do a bunch of these chores. And then there was a curfew time. I could go over to my friend's house, but I had to be home by 6 p.m. And school got out at 3. I'd come home, do chores for a couple of hours, then go hang out with my friend, and then immediately have to come back. And it just didn't make any sense to me. I was a godsend of a teenager. I did everything she asked of me. And I'm a teenager. At this age, it's about exploring life and having fun and being with your friends. That's just how it is. And I wasn't doing anything, out of line. I was partying a little bit here and there, but nothing crazy. And so I just thought her curfew was, I didn't like it. So I started to rebel a little bit and I didn't come home at her curfew time. And she told me that I couldn't hang out with my friend anymore. And I was like, no, grandma, that's not happening. And so then she told me if I wasn't going to listen, then I was going to need to go live with my dad in North Dakota or go stay with my mom in the shelter. And I was like, I'm not doing any of that. Are you kidding me? Like, no, no. And so I was practically already living with my best friend at the time. Their family really invited me in. They, treated me as if I was a part of their family. They would call me their other daughter. They would feed me. They paid for my driver's ed. They knew what my home life was, and they were a safe place for me to go to. And I spent most of my high school, pretty much all of my high school time at her house. And they had a fairly healthy family dynamic, way better than what I was used to. And they were also a savior. They kept me sane and just, they were a godsend. And so they told me that I could live with them. And, I was on the phone with my dad at the time, telling him everything that was going on. And, we were talking at this point in time. He was sending me money every now and then. And, he tells me, just go emancipate yourself. I'm 15 years old. And part of me was really hoping that he would come save me from all of this. But, he just, go emancipate yourself. So that was a really, that hit me and made me realize that it was like me against the world. That's how it felt. It's like no one is here to support me. Everyone, it feels like everyone is out to get me. I don't understand. All I want to do is love and be loved, and I'm getting treated like and abandoned, like I'm just some stray dog. That's really how it felt when I go in and tend to my inner child. It's like that's how it felt. It's like a stray dog who no one loved, no one cared for, and I had to navigate that in order to get where I am, but it was very hard to get through. And so not even 24 hours after my grandma kicks me out, I get a phone call from the police saying that she called me in as a runaway. And if I didn't go back to my grandma's house, then there were going to be all these consequences, and then I was going to go to juvie and all of these things. And I'm like, what? It didn't make any sense. You kicked me out. How can you call me in as a runaway when you kicked me out? I had nowhere to go. And so I go back, and you know, the police officer was treating me as if I was some degenerate teenager who was just partying and doing bad things when I was just a kid in deep, immense pain, being abused by so many people around me. And I didn't deserve it. I didn't do anything to deserve it. And so from that moment on, I it kind of smoothed out. I moved back in with my grandma, and things were fine. I lived with her for the duration of my high school career, and things were okay. I definitely learned how, again, to self-sacrifice myself in order to make her happy. And that's a deep wound of mine, is like that people pleaser. I had to learn how to self-sacrifice in order to keep the peace and make everyone else around me happy. And that's a really, really shitty thing to have to learn. And I'm sure a lot of you watching this can relate. It's not a good feeling, and that's where deep wounding, it just, when you feel like you're not enough being who you are, that alone is painful, let alone all the other things, all the other traumas that I had gone through. Like I can't even explain all of the trauma. Like I'm sitting here trying to do it, but it's so dark and twisted and intertwined and manipulative that it's like it's hard to explain. If you know what I'm talking about. So then I met my boyfriend at the time. I was 17 years old, who he's now my husband. That's when my life really kind of went another direction. He really was my whole world and still is. Like there was just this deep soul love between us. And so then things just, my home life was just so chaotic and so abusive and toxic, and I was just over it. And so then I ended up moving in with my boyfriend, my husband, and we were young, we're partying, and I really numbed out for a long time through alcohol and marijuana. I couldn't handle my pain sober for a long time. I would say for about at least 2 years straight, I was stoned 24/7. I could not be sober because when I was, I couldn't handle it. Being stoned was the only way I could function and feel any amount of happiness, but it wasn't true happiness. It was just numbing myself through substance abuse. And I don't care what anyone says. Marijuana can can be abused, because I sure as hell abused it. So then my husband comes into a good job, and he has to take random drug tests, so he can't smoke anymore. And I wanted to be supportive, and so I quit smoking with him. And that is when things became very, very sharp, because it's like all of that pain that I had numbed for years came rushing back. And then I was crippled with this anxiety and having panic attacks every single day. If I wasn't in a panic and I didn't have anxiety, I was down with depression and just had really dark thoughts, and I didn't really want to live anymore. I didn't see the point. I was in so much pain that I just didn't see the point in life anymore. And so my way to cope, I just became a really angry person. Then my husband told me, it's a problem. You need to do something about it. And so then I was kind of seeking out self-help books and changing some things around in my life, and was really working on my anger. But then my anxiety became so much worse. I couldn't hold down a job because I had panic attacks multiple times a day, and it was crippling. I felt like I was white knuckling life. Like everything just felt so fucking hard. And it was unbearable. It was a really, really hard time. And so then my husband and I flew to Hawaii. I just felt like I really needed a break from life. And we decided to get married because what better place to do it than in Hawaii? And then 3 months later, I got pregnant with my son, or our son. And once he was born, the minute I held that beautiful baby boy, I just knew in an instant that things had to change. My son has been my biggest initiator and my biggest teacher. And from that moment on, I have been working on healing myself. Sought out a therapist, and she was a very spiritual being and kind of slowly started to introduce spirituality to me. And then, I was doing inner child healing, and things were starting to feel a little bit better. I was tending to my inner child and healing myself, and I was recognizing all of that pain and had tools to be able to process it. And I worked with her for about 4 years. And in that 4 years, things just kind of fell into place. Spiritual beings kind of would come into my world and shake me up a little bit. And then I got a tarot reading done from my cousin, and he had told me it was over the phone. I hadn't even seen the cards, but he told me that it was in the cards for me to do tarot. And something inside of me just jumped up and said yes. It felt like I was passionate about something for the first time in my life. And I hadn't even seen the cards yet. And so I ordered my first tarot deck and, got all these books to study and learn. And the minute I picked up that deck and I sat down, it was amazing how natural it was. It's like the veil had lifted for the very first time. And I would say that was my spiritual awakening. I immediately felt my guides around me. And I had no idea they were there before. And here they are offering me this unconditional love that I had craved my whole life. There it was. I felt the love of the universe, of my guides. And from that moment on, I made it a commitment to sit down and do tarot and connect with my guides. And I did that every single day for about 2 years straight. And tarot really became such a major healing tool for me because I don't look at tarot as a way to predict the future. It can be that, yes. But to me, I read them as like a mirror. It's like these cards are mirroring at me where my energy is sitting, where my blockages are, where my pain points are, what is sitting in my body, what's triggering me. It's like I just see it as a complete mirror of my insides, like how I'm feeling on the inside. And that I would journal and write everything out, and then I take it into my counseling, my therapy sessions, and healing really started to begin for me. And let me tell you, having a spiritual awakening was not all rainbows and butterflies. It was really hard, but in the best way possible, because it's like, wow, I'm awakening to God and my soul. And now I understand why I went through all of that. And here I am, and I'm healing from it. And it's beautiful and it's amazing. It's hard, it's murky, it doesn't make any sense, but there's hope. And so then things felt pretty good for a while there. And then, took another little dip because that's what life does. And things got pretty challenging between my husband and I. I came into some information, some really hard truths of lots of betrayal, lies, and addiction and mistreatment. And I was like, I can't keep going like this. Like, this is too painful. No way. This has got to stop. And so we had split up. And it was one of the most hardest times in my life because he has shown me what real love is. There's always been this deep soul love between him and I. But at the same time, here is these things happening that's just not okay. It's a violation of trust and betrayal and all the things, and I just can't. I couldn't keep going the way things were, and so we had split up for a little while. That's when I really learned how partnership really mirror. Like, it's like your romantic partner is your biggest mirror if you allow them to be. It's confronting as all hell. And there's a good reason why people don't stay, is because, and if you're being abused and it's extremely toxic, that is a completely different story. But I wasn't being abused. There was things going on that wasn't okay, yes, but I there was a call inside of me to stay. It's like I can't leave. There's something here. And so my husband ended up seeking out therapy, and that was hope. I'm like, okay, great, like this is, we're moving somewhere. And I really pulled back my energy from him and focused all of my attention onto myself. And then my healing even deepened. And so let me tell you, that was a hard time because I had my husband mirroring to me, and then I had my son mirroring to me, all of my inner child wounds. It was like just constantly being hit in the face with all of these things, but it was the best thing to ever happen to me because my healing really took off from that point. I was brave and I was strong, and I looked at this as a learning opportunity, and I sat with my pain. Sat with unsuppressed grief and trauma, and it fucking hurt. It was really hard. It was not easy, but it has freed me from so much. And so then my husband and we sought out, I went to his therapist that he was seeing, and we were going together, working through our things together. And then his therapist became my therapist because that therapist really introduced the somatic parts work, and that really deepened my healing work in a very big way. And so then for a couple of years, we were really deep in our shit. He was doing his healing work, I was doing my healing work. And we did come back together, and we came back stronger, and our connection deepened. It's like we are literally in the best place we have ever been in our relationship. And like just when I thought we couldn't get any closer, we do. And it's beautiful because, and it's proof that when you do your healing work, it can seriously transform your relationships. And that is what happened. We ended up doing a vow renewal because we really wanted to celebrate how much we've overcome in rebuilding our trust and rebuilding our relationship and coming together even stronger and closer, and deepening our relationship. And and it was time to leave the past in the past. And so we've been amazing ever since. And then I got pregnant with our daughter, and oh my goodness, that little girl, she is a little over a year now, and she has been the portal into my feminine insensitivity. She has reawakened that part of me that I have lost, and well, that I forgot, I had numbed down. And I don't want that in her. She reminds me so much of me when I was a young child, so sensitive, so bright. And I'm doing the healing work so she can remain in that sensitivity. And it it brings me back to that sensitivity in myself. And I had a very traumatic birth with her. I almost died, and I can't tell you. It's like, I think what happened is there was a part of me that did die, and I came out a completely different person. Like, I came out of it happy, and it's like things that bothered me in the past no longer bothered me. It just was like, whatever, I'm just in this happy flow state, and have kind of just been riding that wave ever since, and it's been beautiful. And so here I am. I have been so deep in my spiritual healing work for about 7 years now. And in this process, I've become so connected to my soul, my inner guidance system. I have such a bigger perspective on life, and I can look back at my childhood and see that my soul signed up for that. And I understand why. I couldn't be living my soul purpose without all of my previous life events that I've gone through. I know pain, and I know it very well. I feel like I have been to the depths of hell, and I have come back a wiser, stronger, more beautiful version of myself than I could have ever hoped for or dreamed for. Like, it honestly amazes me. I used to wake up in pure agony where I hated my life. I didn't want to live. I didn't see the point. And now I wake up and I'm excited for each day. And I have a relationship where I am deeply in love, and there's this deep trust and connection, and it's everything that I could have asked for. I have these magical children. Oh my gosh, I have been blessed with such magical children that teach me every single day. I have this strong sense of self and tools in my toolbox to get through life's hard times, like true hard times, to turn that pain into wisdom. And that is my goal here on this channel, is to provide a safe place for those who have gone through trauma and go through hard times and want to make it out better and stronger, and not allow your pain to hold you back, because your pain doesn't have to define you. I'm living proof that it doesn't have to define you. You have the power to choose who you want to be. There's this little voice inside of you, this soul essence inside of you that is guiding you into the direction you are meant to go. I'm here to help you find that voice and listen to that voice, to give you the tools to heal from your pain and turn that pain into wisdom, to alchemize your pain and suffering and become a wiser, stronger person because of it. I have gone down this road, and I know there's going to be times that I'm going to continue to go down hard paths, and that's what life's all about. So I'm excited to grow with you and to show you and share with you the wisdom that I have accumulated from my own experiences. You will notice I will use cards, but not in the traditional sense. I don't like using cards to predict the future. I can, but that's not why I use them. I use them as a way to show me blocks, just like I use them for myself. I use tarot for healing. Another goal that I have is to build a community, to have this space where people can come together and understand one another because we have gone through something really difficult, and to know that you're not alone. So I'm going to leave that there. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, thank you. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.